And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Logic Apps Live February 2024. Seems like we have a full house here. Kent, Harold, Divya, everyone at the part just joining. Let's add him to stage. Okay, so let's go and talk a little bit about the agenda. What we have for today, we're going to talk a little bit about the ACE Aviator of the Month. Then I'll make a PSA announcement, right? To remind everyone that is still working with ICE about retirement, go through some of the information again. And then we're going to be talking about the Logic Apps current and future investments. So we're going to focus a lot of the things that are either under development and that we see coming, and some of our plans for the future today. And of course, as usual, feel free to ask your questions on the chat, and we're going to try to answer as many as we can. Let's start with the ACE Aviator for now. So the ACE Aviator of this month is Mahesh Kumar Tiwari, right? He's been sharing a lot of really good content with the community. We share a little bit about his story and his information, like things that he likes to do on the Logic Apps Aviators in February 2024. And one thing that is, I think, is one of the recommendations that they have for people that starting on Steam and starting on that career was think about that theory is really important, but prioritizing practical skills like coding, like data analysis, project manager. Don't wait for the perfect project to start, right? Or that perfect moment. Just try mini projects, play with the code, participate in online challenges, try to get in touch as many of those things, find the things that you really like, and embrace the failure, because failure is just a way to learn a little bit more and getting the improvements later. So thanks, Mahesh Kumar, for your contributions, and keep on the good work. So next on our agenda, we have a little bit of a reminder of ICE. So let's start with like why we retire in ICE, right? So we have a dependency on cloud services, which is being retired as well. So since that ICE infrastructure is dependent on that cloud services, and the cloud services is retiring in 31st of August, we're going to do retirement of ICE as well around that time. It is an area that we're trying to do this for risk mitigation, right? The current classic cloud services can be a single point of failure today, and moving this to another infrastructure that is better and more reliant can stop any problems with migration or risks of outage in the future. We also future proofing your architecture in doing that, because when you move into Logic Apps Standard, we decoupling that requirement of infrastructure, because now we're combining code in one place and infrastructure in another. So what is our migration strategy? It's based on a replatforming of ICE workflows into Logic Apps Standard, right? It is a non-destructive process. That means that you can do a side-by-side migration. It allows you for local testing and is DevOps friendly. The exporting tool that we provide allow you to go and already have the basis for a DevOps pipeline ready. It is we did that by adding into the VS Code experience the export tool. From a platform point of view, you have a lot more control. You can choose if you're migrating that from our workflow standard app service plans, or if you wanted to run that inside ASE. Both from items from the platform support high availability with Azure Azure landing zones and high availability. It supports elastic scale. That means that it's going to be much easier to scale in and out, and allow you the side-by-side execution between your ICE and your migrated code. So you can make sure that everything is fine before you removing ICE. So, sorry. Okay, from an exporting point of view, you have a wizard-like experience on VS Code, right? That allow you to search and group workflows, pre-validate those workflows to make sure that it's okay, generate a project, and also generate ARM templates for both connection and logic apps. On top of that, the export tool is parameterizing all your metadata. That means that you should be able to get all of that in place, test, and deploy before you needed to deprecate your workflows. But if you wanted to do that in a more automated way, or if you wanted to do that using a script, there is a couple of scripts available, right? One for programmatic and bulk export validation on this GitHub repository from Nicholas McCollin from our Fast Track team, and also samples and how those APIs that we use in are defined on a GitHub repository that I created. So I'm going to put those two links into the comments later on, so you can take a look at that, and also the link for the export tool, so you can take a look at how it's working. The call for action here is the clock is ticking. If you or your customers still have ICE environments, you should be ready and really into migration. So make sure that you keep that in mind and start running that migration. With that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about some of the Logic App's current and future investments. I think the first one here on the list would be you, Pa.
Thanks, Wagner. Thank you everyone for joining today. So I had a couple of things to share, starting with the custom code for Portal. Uh, yes, thanks. So I think what we're targeting here is we already released custom code for VS Code for .NET framework. This mainly included C sharp, so developers could easily write scripts and make sure that they can define input and output schema, upload their scripts, and also use them right across workflows. This is a great experience, right, for developers. While we also heard that we want this customers wanted this capability on Portal as well, right? And in this case, they wanted to write just even smaller scripts, not so much of extensibility required, right, for VS Code as we have provided in VS Code. So we are coming up with an experience for that in Portal, and this should be coming up very soon. This will be ideal for authoring small scripts, right, in C Sharp, PowerShell, and Python, primarily targeting C Sharp and PowerShell right now. It will be a very similar inline code-like experience to JavaScript. So you have all the capabilities of IntelliSense and the dynamic content of the token picker for you in the portal itself, right? So now if you want to also like add the dependencies, like especially for like you want to use an easy module or something else in PowerShell, you'll have that requirements.psd1 file in portal for you to edit. And this whole script will be stored as a separate file right inside the workflow.json. So this is great, but what it does not allow you to do is reuse this file across workflows, right? For you, if you want to do that, you would have to go to VS Code and sort of graduate there and also use your custom scripts, right? So if you have scripts that you want to run, PowerShell scripts, already existing ones, we're not allowing you to do that on Portal now. This is only authoring experience strictly. If you do want to use your scripts, otherwise you'll have to use VS Code. And we'll obviously provide the graduation experience, right, in this case as well. So when you're authoring these small scripts and you realize that, hey, I need to really use VS Code for Logic App Standard now, so you can graduate and have that custom code experience there. So that's what this custom code feature should be. I will have a demo to share soon in the coming meetings. So look out for this one. We're obviously looking for feedback. So if you have tried out, Python or PowerShell or C Sharp on Azure Functions, and you're also using it in Logic Apps, now you will not have to basically provision a separate function for that, right? This is the main advantage. So you won't have to pay for all of that resource. You'll have all of that capability built into Logic App itself. So it's more of that low code, no code platform with some of that codeful extensibility on your hands. If we can go to the next slide, we have some exciting updates in OpenAI as well. Uh, yes, so we released a sample GitHub, uh, like for you to try out here. This basically includes our new connectors right now. We've released for Azure AI Search and Azure OpenAI. Please do check out the blog. This is some awesome work that has been put in by the team, especially to move towards enabling developers to use AI applications with Logic Apps, especially with no code here, right? So in this case, we have two connectors, right? They allow you to generate embeddings. They allow you to search, do vector search, and there are, I think, 3 or 4 more operations as well. There's basically like 2 basic flows, right, for ingestion and chatting. So there is a sample we base this off of that we have from Azure OpenAI. You'll also see that, and we're looking for new operations and connectors, obviously, right? So we have integrated vectorization. That is something that the Azure AI search team has come up with. So we'll take a look at that soon. But we also have individual tokenization as an update that we're planning. So right now in this sample, that if you'll see, you'll have to call in a function to tokenize, but we're going to have like a connector, right? So you'll have all these building blocks at your hand, right? Also a hybrid search. Right now there's only vector search, right? So uh, there are these some new connectors and operations we're still planning to release, but we also want to validate this with you first before we go about it, right? So let us know, if you have tried out our OpenAI updates, especially the new connectors, uh, and this will really help you, right, streamline the application building process. If we can go to the next slide, we can talk a little more about the AI search vectorization as well later. But I think one thing to note here is the space is moving fast, right? uh, you have this 3-step process that was happening in ingestion flow now, which was that, hey, you'll have to tokenize, you'll have to get the embeddings, and then you'll have to index all the documents that you're ingesting. Now all of that is going to be combined into a single API call, into the integrated vectorized API, right? So basically, all you have to do is provide your information on like your Azure Blob that you can connect to. This is only limited to Azure Blob, right? So they are not supporting other sources. That's where we really could come in and help, and we'll obviously take a look at that as well. Um, but also then you can connect to your OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, so you can like in that same API call, it will get the embeddings for you as well, and then you can have this basically running on recurrence from Azure AI Search itself. So every day or every month, like it will take all the blob PDFs or any uploads that you've done, and basically tokenize and do the embeddings and index it for you. So yeah, it's great. It's easy to set up, right? Like you'll see, like in the next slide, like how it's consolidating the steps into basically one. But the thing to note here is that at the end of the day, Logic Apps is still at the center of it, right? We are still the orchestrator, right? We're able to still connect to the data sources that you will be able to ingest documents from, and even like make sure that if you want to affect the downstream systems, we have that connectivity and authentication too, right? And so now, if we can go to the next slide, we can take a look at how, like they're setting up. It's just a 2-step process in AI search. So on portal itself, you can simply set this up. You can connect to your data, as you can see, just your blob storage account as a first step. And the second step, you can simply specify your uh, particular Azure API connection. Actually, that's a wrong screenshot on the second one, so I should be updating that. But that will be the vectorized and enriched data. So you will like provide your Azure OpenAI model, and it should do that for you, right? So yes, if you can go to the next slide, Wagner, please. So this is what the flow would look like, right? So the current ingestion flow is upon like receiving a request of the document, you're going to compose the inputs, to tokenize it, then do some more parsing, and then get the embeddings for each of the tokens. And once you get those vector impressions, you then like create an array and send it to the index. Right now, all of that is going to be automated with a simple, right, like upload to your blob storage container with this vectorize API, because it's directly pulling in, right, this data from there. So yes, this is very powerful, right? And still at the center of it, logic apps is there, right? So you're still having a flow that will do this for you. You can I'm sure like AI search is also looking into capabilities for other storage options, but like, yeah, you'll have other data sources, and we're definitely there as the connectors for the data sources you need. So that's all basically I have. If we can go to the next slide, I think I may have one more thing, actually, Wagner, of just on the assistance API. Uh, yes, I think there is one. So the road ahead, right? So we are planning a couple of more updates. We are having Logic App's plugin capability, right? So you can simply take in an entire Logic app, and you can have multiple workflows in it, right? Which will do certain automations for you. And you can expose these automations in your chat copilot. There will be again a demo on this coming soon. But what's more important is, as the space is moving fast, Azure OpenAI has released Assistance API. So now you don't, like, it's not just a simple HTTP request response in your copilot when you're asking questions, but it's more durable, right? So now you are storing the context of the sessions that you're having in the copilot with the Threads API. Uh, this is pretty cool because it also enables function calling. So if you have third-party APIs you want to call, you can have functions defined, or even like just any API. Like function in this case is not Azure function; it's just basically any API that you want to integrate in your chat copilot. And we see an opportunity here to be the orchestrator, right? So if you want to like create APIs through Logic App, you can do so, right? And you can absolutely use Logic App calling instead of function calling. So again, something that I want to hear your feedback on. If you've used this yet, or any of your peers have used this, we'd love to hear. And obviously, we're planning more samples and demos. We want to show you how this capability is streamlined, right? How much you have to write code for this, and how much you can simply build it using Logic App Designer in just a few minutes. So that's coming soon as well. And let us know if there's any more particular samples or updates you want to see. We're also looking to partner with customers. So yeah, happy to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Path. See, I think the next one it's me. Yeah. So we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk with moving from OpenAI and talking about some of our developer experience investments that we're doing. You'll be seeing us showing that in a couple of places. Last year during our AIS day, we did some demos, and you continue doing investments on that, right? So the current investments that you're seeing or is going to be seeing really soon are the streamlining onboarding that we have on public preview, where now, instead of you having to take care of all the prerequisites to run Logic Apps standard on VS Code, the extension is taking care of that for you. So it's as close as possible for a one-click installation, right? Supporting that in multiple environments or in multiple platforms, in Windows, in Linux, and on Mac. We also made some improvements for you to when you start in the project, all the dependencies that are required is there and started for you. This is already in public preview today, so if you get the latest version of the Visual Studio Code extension, you're going to see that. And that's going GA really soon. I think it's by the end of this month or mid of next month. You should have this as a default experience for the VS Code experience. The other thing that we're doing on that is supporting you to set up your DevOps pipeline to automate your deployment scripts with tooling inside the VS Code, right? So the tooling that would allow you to generate ARM templates, pipelines, and making sure that all the parameterization that is required for connections and parameters across multiple environments is taken care and is automated for you with a gesture in the tool. This is currently in private preview and is going to be in public preview by the end of the next month at the latest. Next one on the list of things that we're busy working from a developer experience, it's support for zero downtime deployment for Logic Apps Standard. So today, if you needed to do a deployment on in the portal, you're going to have a restart, and because of that, you're going to have loss of connectivity for a little while. So we're taking advantage of slots. That is something that is already exists on app services in general. That's where Logic Apps Standard sits, to allow you to do zero downtime deployment scenario. So you deploy on slot one, we're doing all the validation that makes sure that your code it's okay and it's working. And then after that, you either swap automatically or swap when you're ready to, right? We're going to show that a little bit more on the next month's show with some demos and what we're taking care of that. The last one that is quite in early stages, but early stages of development, is something that a lot of people is asking, which is the automated testing for Logic Apps Standard, right? We have a lot of things on this area. The first things that we're coming up is a way for you to define unit tests or define the integration tests, depending on how you wanted to call that, with the ability to mock and set up sessions in a low-code manner, and for you to be able to run that either on VS Code or as part of your deployment pipeline. So this is what we focus on development right now. From a roadmap point of view, there is a whole lot of other things that we're working that we're starting to prioritize soon. We have improvements on the development lifecycle, where we wanted to make sure that now that we have the local environment working a lot more seamless than it was before, that if you started on the portal, you also have a seamless way to migrate into a local development. So you can take advantage of things like in tooling, the automated testing, and stuff like that. We try and planning on improving error management during development inside Visual Studio Code, give you more meaningful information while you still develop, instead of you having to click on run to find some of that information. And for people that needs to work with either the containers, or that needs to do like reviews and stuff of the code, include also code space support. From enterprise deployment scenarios, we have a couple of other things coming. As part of that zero downtime deployment process, we providing error notification if something didn't go well with your package, right? But we wanted to give it a lot more granular information and give information at workflow level, which is exactly which workflow are broken at your workflow view. So you find out exactly what is needed to be done in order for you to get a successful deployment. But also supports blue-green deployments later on. So you can actually get your staging and do some testing before you actually push it to your prod environment. We have more options coming for DevOps in tooling after we get into the public preview for that one. We're planning to add bicep support. We're planning to add the GitHub's action support. We're planning to add Terraform support on the automated tooling. And finally, other options for automated testing on Logic Apps. While the first click stop that we're doing is focusing on low code, right? We wanted to also provide a way to code full support for testing. If you prefer to actually code that and include as part of your bigger set of unit test coding, you're able to have a code full support for that unit testing, and some mock extensibilities for like places where just using the low code extension doesn't support. You'll be able to do inline coding to augment that mocking experience. So those are things that are in our top of mind for developer experience for now, and it will be quite interesting to see your feedback of those items and what we should prioritize and how we should be working with those things. So I think that's all for me from DevX Investments. Next online is Divya. Just let me bring Divya to the stage. Uh, I think I playing tag with you, Kent. You can go. Oh yes, Divya.
All right. Hello, everyone. So, in this slide, we just want to talk more about the investments we are doing for B2B and EDI capabilities. Earlier, actually, last year, we released the integration account premium SKU and the X12 and Edifact EDI actions as built-in connectors. So, those were some of the first few capabilities we launched, um, basically with the long term goal on enabling you to run B2B and EDI at scale on Logic App Standard. And to in that spirit, some of the next set of things that we are going to add, both for B2B and EDI, includes things like VNet support for integration account. So with integration account premium, you bring in your own storage. So with whatever we have today, already your data is in storage, and you can link your storage to the VNet. But with the ability to have integration account control plane also being hosted in VNet, you would now have an ability to run everything related to integration account and have all the artifacts all within the scope of your VNet environment. So you can have a completely locked down and secure environment for the integration account. One other sorry um, the On the same lines, we are also enabling the availability zone support for integration account, so that you get the high availability benefits that you can already use with Logic App Standard with integration account as well. um, and with the VNet support and availability support, and integration account premium already allows you to use any number of artifacts in the integration account. Are We believe that with all these capabilities at your hands, you would be able to use integration account and build your B2B and EDI applications that can run that can run securely in your VNet and at the scale that you need. The other set of capabilities that would allow you to run these workloads at high scale are B2B and EDI actions, which are now built in Logic App Standard. So you get a lot more throughput, as well as the payload sizes that we support is is going to be much higher in Logic App Standard compared to our other SKUs before. um, X12 and Edifact is in public preview today, and one of the reasons for that is that we are adding some of the capabilities listed here to these actions before we GA them. Um, we are towards the tail end of adding these capabilities. So X12 and Edifact will, up until now, supports single transactions. We are now adding capability to support the interchange with a batch, so that you can both decode messages that include a batch or a collection of messages, as well as you can encode and create messages that include one or more messages. So the batching support is something that we are we are very close to rolling out, and should be available very soon for you to try out. The other thing that we are looking into is the EDI tracking capabilities. As part of this work, we are also bringing in Azure Data Explorer as the data ingestion mechanism. So that all the tracking data that you emit out of these EDI actions would be available in ADX. Um, ADX provides you that transactional store, which was not available until now. so that we can guarantee the availability of all the data for the EDI workloads. Since it is ADX, you have a lot more control on the data, and we will be providing out of box dashboards for EDI tracking capabilities. But given the data is in ADX, you also would have full flexibility to take that data anywhere else and build your own custom dashboards or custom capabilities. Or if you already have custom dashboards, you can simply pull in data from ADX to power those experiences. So again, like the all of these capabilities are something that we are actively working at, looking at. But still, always welcome your feedback. So if you have any specific needs or asks that you see are not being met today, and as we are bringing in these capabilities, we would love to hear any feedback. uh, so yeah, that's all from me. Back to you, Wagner.
Thank you. Next is Kent.
Hello, all. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, so just some other updates as well. So let's start with hybrid use cases. So this is something that's in development. We will allow you to run your Logic App Standard workflows on premises or in the cloud. We are targeting semi-disconnected scenarios. So there still will need a link to Azure to perform some operations, but the local processing should not require it. It is something that we are envisioning being useful for customers who have those needs to run locally, where they need local processing, local storage. It's also can become an avenue for those BizTalk migration customers that are looking to move to Logic apps, but still need some local presence. So this is in development. Just wanted to give folks a heads up that this is coming. We'll certainly have more information for you as we move forward. And certainly if there's interest in this feature, feel free to reach out to me, find me on LinkedIn as a starting point, and we'd love to hear more about your use cases. Next up, the custom code extensibility. So we did release the .NET Framework support inside of VS Code for Logic App Standard last fall. Parth had briefly mentioned this as well. And we've had a lot of asks for support for .NET Core. And so this is the result of that feedback. So I would expect some announcements here pretty soon, perhaps in the next episode or next edition of this. We may have a demo to show you, but you can sort of envision a very similar experience to what you saw with the .NET Framework, except it will be .NET Core. So you'll be able to use the latest version of .NET 8. Now, on the business process tracking side, we continue to invest in this area. Kind of two of the bigger rocks that we're immediately focusing on is business process stage status. So being able to determine whether or not a stage has been successful or has failed, that has been a top ask by customers. We've also introduced or are working on business ID expressions. So previously, you have to basically use dynamic content or tokens. However, we didn't give you the ability to use expressions to manipulate them. So that is something that's been an ask by many customers and something we're responding to as well. The other thing is that we are still investing in integration environment. So, do look for news around that in the future, but that's still very much a focus for us as well. And obviously it is in public preview in its current form, but we are investing in that area as well. That's all from me, Wagner.
I'll add Harold and then move the slides.
Thank you.
I think I need coffee today.
Thank you, Wagner. Okay, so let's just start with Visto migration. So as you're aware, we've been encouraging our customers to migrate to Visto server for the last couple of years, right? From that perspective, we've been heavily investing on features that have been core to Visto server to be included in Azure Logic Apps in overall Azure integration services. The criteria that we had for this for customers who are running Bistock today is to preserve their customer investments as much as it is possible. Make sure that Azure Integration Services is the quickest and the most cost-effective option for them. To reduce refactoring as much as it is possible, of course, right? And because they are our customers as well. Reduce maintenance costs and leverage new capabilities. So then, what we did with Azure Logic Apps is we made it. We brought all of these more than 20 years of Bistock server experience and success on the features. We brought most of them to Azure Logic Apps, and we are working on that, right? So if you see here, we have a path for short-term, medium-term, and longer-term investments. Some of those, most of them, they have been implemented already, and Kent and Divya spoke about a few of them. And one in a couple of investments that we are running as we speak, that we are working on. One is the enhanced XML support for customers who want to preserve some of these XML based workloads and schemas, everything beyond to what we already have in the workflow, and also the business rules engine, which is something that I will speak a little bit more. Wagner, you want going to the next one? Hope the coffee is good, man. Okay, so let's briefly talk about the Logic Apps rules engine. The business rules engine in Bistock was introduced more than 20 years ago, right? And it was used for content redirection and business decision and decision management. So then what we decided to do was to introduce the core capability of the rules engine in Bistock to Logic Apps, so then customers are able to reuse their existing rule sets, or formerly policies, right? So then they can integrate them into their workflows. The way how we've been building this feature, and we are still working on a private preview, it's we have leveraged a custom code Logic Apps feature. We use the invoke function experience only available in VS Code right now, which doesn't mean that you cannot export it to the cloud. So this is actually a cloud a Logic Apps feature. It uses the standalone offline rules composer based on the Bistock rules composer. If you remember, for those of you who have been or who are Bistock customers, the experience of composing the rules is fairly similar today. We have maintained the RITI engine in the runtime. That means that if you have all of your scenarios that are working on Bistock server today, they will be supported in Logic Apps. We will let you know when we have further updates on this feature. There is a link for the private preview that we have available that I'd like to share. I have not linked my account, so do I just paste it in the chat here internally? Can you paste it, Wagner? Do you mind pasting it outside, or?
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
Thank you. So if any of you is interested in running the private preview for the rules engine, we are still accepting submissions, right? It's going to be available for the next 3 to 4 weeks, and then we'll wrap up with learnings that we've been capturing. So if you have any further questions about this feature, please let us know. You can reach out to us, or you can reach out to me. My name is Harold Campos again, and well, that was it for me. Thank you, Wagner.
Thanks, Harold. And I think that's all the content that we had for today. It was a quiet chat today. I didn't see that many people with questions, but if you have any questions, feel free to type it. I'm going to give you the 30 seconds, and then otherwise we can wrap it for today. If you don't get the questions here, remember that you can find your friendly Logic Apps PMs on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Just ping us. We try to answer as many questions as we can all the time. Okay. If not, I think that's all for today. Thanks, Harold, Divya, Kent. Pat said that bye-bye to everyone. He had to leave to another meeting. So see you all next month. Remembering that is every fourth Thursday of the month, 11 a.m. Pacific time. The same Logic Apps time, same Logic Apps channel.
Same bad
Yes,
channel.
I'm that old.
Bad channel. No, we are.
See you all later.
Okay.